Sarah Palin is quiet no more. She had been sitting on the sidelines, and then she kicked off basically a bus tour. It started in Washington, goes to places like Mount Vernon and Gettysburg. She hasn't declared, but this could be an indicator of where she's leaning. Here's what she's saying about the tour.
Governor, it certainly looks like a campaign bus. If you're not running for president, why the tour?
This isn't a campaign bus. This is a bus to be able to express to America how much we appreciate our foundation and to invite more people to be interested in all that is good about America. And to remind ourselves we don't need to fundamentally transform America. We need to restore what's good about America. You can start by doing that right in here. So I'm glad you guys are here.
All this sudden exposure also stirs up extreme feelings on both sides. Pretty much two camps. There are the haters and there are the praisers. Then there are those in the media who seem so obsessed. And what's it all about? Joining me right now to talk about Palin's appeal is Ford O'Connell, a Republican strategist, also RealClearPolitics.com national political reporter Scott Conroy, and CNN senior political editor Mark Preston. Scott, let's start with you. What should we read into this? What are you hearing?
I found that soundbite you just played kind of amusing. I think she said that, this is nothing more than really just a sightseeing tour, essentially. But we know that's not the case. I actually just reported a few minutes ago that Palin intends to take this bus to Iowa eventually next month. So I think we all know what that means. She's really looking strongly at running for president, and by all indications, she's leaning heavily towards it. I've learned through sources that I've talked to that really her biggest holdup at this point is just making sure that her family is okay with this. If she runs for president, it's going to be a campaign like we've never seen before. It's going to be a lot of bus trips, a lot of on-the-ground grassroots campaigning, and she would basically take her family on it for the whole trip. So she just wants to make sure that's feasible at this point. But by all indications, and I'm told that Todd Palin especially is completely on board at this point, and it looks like it's really going to happen.
So your sources are saying she's taking this bus that she's got out there right now to Iowa. That would be news to what degree do you have it nailed down?
Well, of course, the logistics of this thing are already, they've been changed so many times, but I'm told by two very knowledgeable people that the plan right now is to go to Iowa eventually. I think this is going to be divided up into different segments. For the rest of the week, she's going up the coast, and she's going to end up in New Hampshire, which, again, is no coincidence. But she'll fly out later on, and she'll make her way to Iowa eventually, is what I'm told.
Now, let me get Ford in here. Ford, why is Palin such a polarizing figure?
Well, I think that she drives the left and the media nuts, and I think that's also part of her appeal, because while she's polarizing the left and the media, she really has a strong appeal and almost iconic following for right-leaning Americans who feel they really don't have a voice in government. A great example was the day before Election Day 2008, I was out with the Palin folks in Reno. Look, we knew we'd lost to Obama. Pouring rain, thousands of people are waiting outside just to get a glimpse of Palin. It's the fact that she's something different and she shoots from the hip. But if she wants to actually make a run at the nomination, she's going to have to become a little bit more of a refined candidate, or her campaign could flop right out of the gate.
Mark Preston, you heard what we heard from Scott, that she's going to take this bus out to Iowa. If that's true, does that say anything more than we know now?
Well, what's interesting, Joe, is the fact that she says that this is not a campaign, and Scott's saying that she's going to Iowa. This trip up to New Hampshire is not publicly scripted. She's going to these locations and just allowing the media a few moments' notice before she actually arrives. Now, if she does decide to run a national campaign, she has to have more structure. As Ford says, the bottom line is she's running as this outside the Beltway candidate, and that would work well, except you need inside the Beltway text to help run your campaign. So if Sarah Palin is really serious, she's really going to have to start building up her political staff and really starting to embrace, at least behind the scenes, a little bit of Washington, or certainly the consultants that know how to run presidential campaigns.
Now, Scott, back to you. You are probably one of the only journalists who's actually seen this movie they're going to unveil about Sarah Palin in Iowa, presumably at some point. Tell us a little bit about that movie. What's it supposed to be?
The movie is really an effort to reintroduce her to the country. Lost in the Sarah Palin phenomenon that we've had over the last few years, is her record as governor of Alaska. And you know what? She never even talks about it practically. But I think if she does run, and this movie shows, The Undefeated it's called, she will tout her record on oil and gas issues, which is very strong. She was one of the most popular governors in the country the time she was picked by the McCain campaign. So the movie really gets down into the weeds of, you know, trying to make her seem like a serious person to a lot of people who don't perceive her to be that anymore. And quite frankly, it's pretty effective. I don't know how many people are going to go see it, but those that do might see their perceptions of her change a little bit.
Great,
of course,
okay.
She still has a big uphill climb. I mean, she has a lot of people to win back over. She's going to be a serious candidate.
Scott, Mark, Ford, thanks so much for coming in on Memorial Day.
Thank you, my
Thanks.
friend.
Thanks.